Thank you, Jake, Teen Defenders, for putting this together again for a second year. This is an event that I think is important. I think it helps us to remember all those tens of millions of unborn children that have been aborted in the 40 years, or almost 40 years, since Roe v. Wade decision came into place. And I want to thank you for your work, Jake, and for all the young people that are here today, the young people who come down from Spalding Catholic and pray in front of Planned Parenthood on the days that they perform abortions. It gives all of us who are aging, I'm still fairly young, 35, I'm still very grateful my parents chose life because they could have chosen otherwise, but it gives us great hope for the future that there are young people that care about this issue and understand this issue. And I remember very clearly as a student at Epiphany, which was Holy Family at that time, a Catholic school here in town that doesn't exist anymore. And I remember my 7th grade teacher showing us the silent scream. And as a young person, it's hard to determine, were you pro-life at that time, but I knew that we had a good moral fiber in our family. And I had a grandmother who reinforced all those good family values in us. And I've been very blessed to have had a number of people throughout my life. But I remember seeing the silent scream and knowing at that moment that I was going to be a person who was going to do all I could throughout my life to fight for the pro-life cause. And that's ultimately what led me to run for the state legislature just over 2 years ago. And it has been a frustrating time. We live in a divided government, and I don't want to make this political, but the reality is it's great that you're all here today, but we need you to stay engaged over the next 2 years. It is unfortunate this last year that we experienced a fairly large setback with the re-election of this president. He will not protect life. And when I came into the Capitol for the first time 2 years ago, I was told, well, there are these Democrats who will work with you on these issues, who will work with you on abortion, work with you on marriage to solve these problems. But the reality is their party affiliation is more important to them than the lives of the unborn. And that became very clear early on when we tried to pass a late-term abortion ban, when we tried to pass a marriage amendment. They are not there with us, and that is very sad and unfortunate because there are good people on the other side of the aisle, but their worldview is very different than all of ours, and that's something we have to do our part. Pray for those people. Pray that they have a change of heart, that they begin to see the error of their ways and the evil of abortion. It is a sobering thought to imagine as a 35-year-old, and my wife, Angie, who's with me here today, that 40 years ago, the Roe v. Wade decision happened, and abortions began happening in this great nation of ours. That just in the last year, some 300,000 children were aborted in our nation, and that has been a reoccurring activity since the passage of this decision. And the amount of money that Planned Parenthood draws in, over $1 billion, $1.244 billion, and they still receive aid from the federal and the state government. And I think if we look at some of our neighbors, they are breaking away, they're defunding Planned Parenthood, they're ending the practice of using your tax dollars to pay for abortions. We need to begin doing some of those things here in the state of Iowa as well. But we need your help. We need you to stay engaged over the next 2 years. We need you to participate in the political process. That is the reality. We're going to have to solve this through the political process. We're going to have to elect pro-life individuals, not only in Des Moines, but in Washington, D.C. It is a problem that we aren't going to be able to solve because the courts, they're not going to rule with us. And with the re-election of the president, the Supreme Court is going to be a solid pro-choice court going forward, I fear. And I just pray for the future of our nation, that we continue to be blessed while these millions of babies are being aborted and continue to be aborted. In my role as a state senator, what I've done this year is I've decided that even though my legislation, things that I introduce will go nowhere, that is not a reason to sit by on the sidelines and say, well, there's nothing I can do. The Democrats are not going to take up any of my legislation. I take the proactive approach that we still need to introduce the bills that will protect life. And so I've introduced legislation that will prohibit abortions for sex sex selection, so that we're not having abortions and aborting young girls because someone wants a baby boy, that we're not having gender abortions, that we're not having abortions based upon the race of the child, that we're not using telemed abortions, that we prohibit the use of where a doctor's not even in the room and they hit a button and then those abortion pills come out and the abortion takes place in that matter. We need to regulate this. And I also want to see us defund Planned Parenthood. That's something we have to do, and we have to protect. Thank you. And we have to protect the most vulnerable among us, the unborn. And we have to do our part. Even if that legislation isn't going to be passed, we still have to do our part as legislators. So I want to thank the teen defenders again for being here, Your Excellency for being here, Bob Vander, Plaats for being here. It's great to have you back in Sioux City today. I want to thank all of you for taking a stand and standing for life. Thank you for braving the elements. This is truly a passion for all of you to have been here today, and I'm very honored to have been with you. Thank you very much.